So far in 2024, I've managed to test 8 daily trainers. Today I want to sit down and go through which one's my favourite so far. So I'll say straight off the bat, all of these shoes I absolutely love, but some more than others. Some have just had initial testing and some have had plenty more miles than the original first couple of runs. I'm going to be sharing all of that today and show you my 3 that I'm really enjoying more than the others. So we'll get stuck in and we'll start straight at the bottom. So let's kick start with the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, and only the initial testing done in this one. I had other shoes in that I was logging my daily miles in at the time, and I've got to be honest with you, I really do enjoy this shoe. But as I said, when we say start at the bottom, some of these are good, and as I said, some of them just excel a lot more, and I just think there were other shoes at the time I was using that were slightly more enjoyable than this one. This one has great cushioning. It feels really good compared to the previous version. The standout feature for me was the addition of this power tape that's been put in on the arch. I felt like it gave me personally a little bit more support, stops the ankles rolling in too much, and although this is very much a neutral daily trainer, the addition of this section here really did help aid to keep the foot strike more in control. So that was a welcome addition for me. But as I said, everything about it is great. There was just other shoes at the time that I was preferring more than this one. And we'll do these next 2 together. We've got the On Cloud Monster 2 and we've got the On Cloud Monster Hyper. Now the Monster 2 I received, I think it was a couple of months ago now, and it got some good initial miles in it. It was actually the shoe that I was gravitating towards when I was just nursing a slightly sore right Achilles just before London. It was a shoe that was just aggravating at the least, and I could put it on. It gave me some good comfort, good support, and I was able to log a lot of miles in this thing, and as it helped me recover from that slight injury. The On Cloud Monster Hyper is a shoe I received within the last week or so, and I'm only just starting to test it, and the similarities between these 2 shoes just mean that I'm not even sure I'm going to bother putting an initial review out for this one because they're just so similar. Standout features of them in terms of the differences: we have a slightly different ankle cut than this one to the Monster, which is welcomed because the Monster, I did find when I was walking around, did rub the base of my ankle. No issues when running, just when I was walking around. I have noticed already that that is not the case on the Hyper. This is lighter, the Hyper, and I prefer the cushioning in the forefoot. There's no plate in this one, there is in this one, but it is a softer ride in this shoe. And all round, although I've only put 1 run in this thing so far, if I was to choose between both these 2 shoes, I would say I would probably go for the Hyper, just because I prefer its lightweight nature, the cut under the ankle there, and the lacing is a little bit better. This uses a wire, this uses more standard kind of tabs to lace up, and I found that I got quite a decent lockdown on this one, whereas this one, it's still good, but it did feel quite funny across the top of the foot. So even though I got on really well with this shoe, I think the Hyper would just edge it for me. And the Saucony Guide 17 is next up. This is a supportive shoe, but I've got to be honest with you, this is one that I actually have regrets over because I really wish that I would get more miles in this shoe. This has had the initial testing and it hasn't had too much more since. Again, for the same reason as the Puma, there were just other shoes in my rotation at the time that I was enjoying more. However, this was a really big update from the Guide 16, a really enjoyable update. The Power Run midsole foam here, although it's their base entry level foam, they definitely tinkered with the compound with it because it's lighter and it's definitely more nimbler, and I do get more back from this foam than I did in the previous guides, which just felt a little bit like heavy bricks. This is a really comfortable shoe and I do highly rate it, and I talk highly about it. I just haven't put enough miles in it to really give it a bit more of a glowing review so far. However, the initial testing was really positive on this one, and I have to say this is one that I really want to, by the end of the year, at least get another 2 or 3 more runs in. And the Ghost 16 from Brooks is up next. Potentially a surprise of the year for me, a big update, or for me, big update from the previous version, and one that I really surprisingly enjoyed. Again, I've only received this shoe within the last couple of weeks. I've only got a couple of testing runs done, but on those runs it shone much better, much more enjoyable. A big positive step forward for Brooks in that aspect, and as I said in my initial impressions video, I have to say I think Brooks Ghost fans will appreciate this update. There are livelier shoes out there, there are more exciting shoes, but as for a shoe that a lot of entry entry-level runners go for, or people that just want kind of almost like a walk-run shoe, or people that just want to have a shoe that is super comfortable, this is a really good offering. And the reason it really surprised me was how good it felt when I could pick up the pace. What I look for in a daily trainer is versatility. I'm not particularly interested too much in shoes that are just for recovery days. I do like a shoe that can do a little bit of everything, and that's why you'll see in the top 3 shoes in a second why they are where they are. But this one in particular for me, yes, it's got versatility. It can definitely do zone 1 and zone 2. Whether it can do much faster, I don't know, but I really enjoyed it when I picked up the pace into zone 2. Now I know I contradict myself a little bit with what I just said, because this one isn't the most versatile, but this does make the top 3. The other 2 are slightly more versatile than this, but out of the shoes that I have just talked about, this one for those easy recovery paces in zone 1 is by far the most comfortable that I have tried, and it surprised me actually, because the Triumph 21 was a really good shoe. But I just found the 10mm drop to be a little bit too much, a little bit like the Brooks Go 16. That's a 12mm drop, and you do notice it when you're going slower. When you pick up the pace in the Brooks, you don't notice it as much. I haven't really wanted to pick up the pace in this shoe, but what I will say is this is a shoe over the last month since I got it that I have purely exclusively used for easy runs, because it is the most comfortable, it is the most enjoyable, and I've got to say what they've done with the updates is really good. Now, I know that this will divide a lot of people, and what Saucony have done in their rotation is just shuffle things around. So like the Triumph 21, they've taken that foam, put it into the Ride 17, and although the Ride 17 only has an 8mm drop and the Triumph has a 10, I do sort of recommend to people, if you love that beaded foam feel that you get from the Triumph 21, move to the Ride. It is really nice. What they've done with this one is, weirdly enough, the Saucony Endorphin Shift was a shoe that I really enjoyed, a firmer midsole, but one of those plodding shoes that I just ended up racking up the miles in. I liken it to that, but with a better midsole, more comfortable, cushioned. Some people are reporting that it's firm, not for me. Again, bear in mind, I'm nearly 90 kilos, 6'6". I put a lot of weight through each stride, so I'm going to get a different feel for some of you smaller, lighter runners out there. And for me, it's a lovely soft and cushioned ride. So this excels in its section, which is definitely those easy and recovery days. And that is why it's right up there for me so far in the daily trainers of this year. And so these top 2 now bring the versatility element, which is what I always look for in a daily trainer. The Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. Now this is a shoe, it's a funny old relationship I have with it. I love the Speed 1 and 2. I've done a couple of videos now. I've done a 100-mile update video on this thing. And again, I've got to say that sometimes with this shoe, it can feel a little bit meh, a little bit lackluster, lifeless. But it is a shoe that can just do a lot more than what we've just talked about. And that's what I like in a daily trainer. Something that I can take on an easy run, but also pick up the pace. Sometimes on those easy runs, if I'm feeling good, I like to just push it a little bit. Sometimes if I'm feeling nice and tired and fatigued from training, I just like to plod and relax. And I feel good in both situations in this shoe. Again, with moderate zone 2 stuff, this also excels really well. The only thing I haven't done in this shoe yet is put it through its paces in a workout, and that is on the cards, and I will do that in an extra channel video at some point in the near future. However, for the moment, I've got to say, all the shoes that I've tested so far this year, this one is up there. It doesn't quite fulfill me with the most satisfaction as the next shoe we're about to talk about, but it does do everything I want it to. And again, as far as I'm concerned, I can sit here and talk to you about how great or bad a shoe is, but the proof is in the pudding with the amount of miles I put in the shoes, and you can follow me on Strava and see which shoes I use for each runs. This one has got a whole load of miles in it, and it will continue to get more in the future. But that then leads me on to the final one, which is, for me, a standout shoe of the year so far. And it did actually make me question why I didn't go for the Mach 5 last year, because the Mach 4 from Hoka is a shoe that I bought and I loved, and it was great, and I put a load of miles in, and it was the longest living Hoka that I've ever had. We all know about Hoka foams. They die so quickly, and a lot of shoes go into early retirement. But the Mach 4, for me, was an exception to that rule. I got well over 300 miles, and it did really well. The 5 I didn't get, the 6 I am so glad I got, and I'll tell you why. This is the most versatile daily trainer so far. The new supercritical EVA foam they're using in this is great. And what I did on the extra channel is indeed put a workout video out. Finally, after I got it over 100 miles, I did test this thing out on a workout and it was great. I did 25 by 400 meters and my double threshold evening session, I averaged 5:23 per mile in this shoe and it felt really good. It really surprised me, and that just showed me exactly what I needed to know from the shoe, which is it has a huge range. Now, I know a lot of you share my thoughts on this. Some of you don't. Some of you say you prefer the Rebel version 4 from New Balance. And I get it, they both seem to be very similar shoes, and some of you prefer the Speed 4, but I've got to say this one gets the win for me. I'm looking for versatility, I'm looking for comfort, I'm looking for lightweight, and this ticks all of those boxes. So there we go, those are the 8 daily trainers that I have tested so far this year, and definitely for me the Triumph 22 stands out in that easy recovery day area. The Endorphin Speed 4 has been great for versatility when I've wanted to pick up the pace a bit or just cover a few different types of runs, and the Mach 6 is excelling, and if I'm honest with you, head and shoulders above the other shoes. It's definitely up there right now for contender for shoe of the year. Obviously for me, weirdly enough, the Alpha Fly 3 that I've just purchased for as a racing shoe is also up there. I'm really getting on with that one, but in terms of daily trainers, I haven't quite found something that is better than the Hoka Mach 6. I would of course love to hear your thoughts, and it would be great to hear from you if you have any of these shoes. Please do drop a comment and let people know how many miles you've got in them and how they're holding up, because as much as I'd love to get as many of these to 2, 3, 4, 500 miles, I just can't with the amount of shoes I'm testing. So if you guys can share some thoughts and feedback on how yours are holding up, that will help people a lot, especially if they're considering buying any of these shoes. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, sharing it with friends, and of course subscribing to the channel for weekly running content. See you on the next one.